Hello and welcome to Learning by Programming Hangman. This video is about variables. First, let's recap. In the last video, we learned to create a new project. We learned where to start, how to print and scan. This video, we will learn through the software development process, which is the process basically followed by all sorts of programs. It has 4 phases: planning, designing, implementing, and maintaining. So when learning about this, we will learn 2 new tools: UML Activity diagram and variables. How can we do this? Let's take a look at our Hangman version 1 from our last video. We have created the Hangman version 1, but now if we want to add new features and if we want sometimes to read our program again and again, we will need to make, so basically means that if we want to maintain that program, we will need the Hangman version 1 to be understandable, readable, and flexible, right? So how can we do that? We will follow the software development process in the other 3 phases: planning, developing, and implementing. So let's start. Planning. Basically, it's the what phase, where we try to answer what do we want the program to do, or what features do we want in our program. In our Hangman version 1, in order for a Hangman program to work, we need a mystery word, a number of chances that a player can try and fail, and we need a guess word, so a player can base on that to have some hints. To make Hangman version 1 easier to build, we have the mystery word with only 1 letter and no random, and the number of chances is only 1, and the guess word is just a dash. Okay, you get that? So for now, we have all the features and we understand. We pass the planning phase. The next phase is the designing phase, where we try to answer how all of the parts connect to each other, or how the program works. Or in this phase, you will try to have a model for our program. Okay? So we will start by writing a prototype. Then we will develop from a prototype using UML diagram, basically to visualize the parts of the program, so we can draw connections between them and see how it works. So that's the way we create the model using UML diagram. So we will start by drawing the UML activity diagram right away. So let's start by drawing some steps. Every steps that your computer has to do for the program to work, like print hello. This is for another program basically, but you get the idea. And have each steps inside a box like this. Another step, print goodbye. You try to have it draw from start to finish and from top to bottom. So now go ahead and try that. Pause first and go ahead and try that, and I'll check back later. So this is one of the results that you might have come up with. And there are some changes that I want to make to it. First, you will see that the print, this is retarded Hangman, is not critical to our program, right? Because you need guesswork, you need chance, you need to have a player's guess, and then you need to print your mystery word. So the other 2 steps, like print this is retarded Hangman or print now guess it, just isn't critical for our program. So we try to remove it, right? Other thing we want to modify is we try to draw arrows to make the direction clear. So basically now we can see this as an activity diagram already, but I want to make this thing very simple. So I will do this. I will first make the two start and finish become symbols, and instead of writing the whole quotes text string, I'll just give the reference name of the string already, only like guess word, chance guess letter, and mystery word. So now we have the activity diagram ready, basically the directions for the computer to follow when we run through our program. So we have the instructions, and from that we can create all these ingredients, because program is like a recipe which has instructions and ingredients, if you remember. So the ingredients for our program is guess word, chance guess letter, and mystery word. So we finish our designing phase, and we will go to the next phase, implementing, which means to make the real stuff. So how can we implement our variable, our ingredients inside our program? We will use variables, which basically means you can remember it as ingredients for the program. So let's compare the two things. So ingredients and variable both have three fields when you try to define them: name, value, and type. For example, milk is the name, value is 100 milliliter, and the type is fluid. The same here in variable. We have the name for the variable is guess word, the value is a dash, and the type is a string. String means some kind of text, I told you before. The second type you can see here, for example, flour is the name, value is 2 cups, and the type is powder. So in the variable side, we can have name is chance, value is 1, type is integer, basically means number. There are differences though, because in the ingredient we normally don't write the type of the ingredient when we define it, because when we read the name and the unit of the value in the ingredients, we can understand the type of it. Furthermore, whenever we try to define the ingredients, we will need to have the value with it so that we can use them. So, like you need the amount of milk that you want to use. But in variable, we can create a variable without having a value. For example, the variable guess letter, we don't have a value for it when we create it, when we define it, because it is the user's input and you don't know. So how can you use a variable without knowing its value? You need to have its type, right? So remember that every time you try to define the variable, you need two things: the name and the type. The value is not necessary. You might have it, you might not have it. This is okay. So let's do some coding. I will provide you the tool to declare or define a variable. First, you have to write down the type of the variable, string. In this case, the name of the variable come after some text, and then you write equal to, and you write the value of that variable, which is blah 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 inside of quotes, because this is text. And then you finish the statement with a semicolon. So another example is integer. You start with int, then you write int is the type, and you write the name, some number. And if you want to write the value for that variable, you say equal 7, semicolon. This one without quotes, because it's a number. There are some rules to remember though. First is, because Java is case sensitive, so the S in the string has to be in capital letter, and the I in the int has to come in small letter. Furthermore, you will need the space between this type and the name of a variable. And the last thing to remember is if the name of the variable has more than one word, for example, some text or some number, you cannot put space inside that. Remember? You cannot put space inside the name of a variable. One last thing, that you don't need value of the variable. If all you need is write the type, then space, then the name, and then semicolon, then you're done with your defining your variable. So now let's pause the video and go try it out. So I hope you all can figure out where to start defining your variable, which is above your instruction, because it's just like in the recipe, right? So you have here 4 variables. String guessword equals to dash, remember the quotes, semicolon, int chance equal to 1, string guess letter. Remember, we don't set any value for this guess letter because it's user's input. And then we have string mystery word equals to I. Another thing, don't have any space in here, right? No space, but remember the space here, right? Okay. So now just try to make things very clear. I will separate the variables from the instruction, okay? And then I'll try to have a single line comments to say this is the variables. Then have another single line comment to say here it is instructions. Okay. So now we already have the variables. We'll try to go ahead and use it. Okay. So we have our variables already very clearly in separately from our instructions. Now let's try to use the variables, right? Because you know we have just defined it that we are going to use these variables without actually using them. So I will provide you an example. Here we have the variable integer chance equal to 1, and you will want to use it here, right? Inside the string, the text string, you have 1 chance. So you have 1 chance is a string, but if you want, if it can be equal to 3 parts, like you have string and then you plus a number 1, then you add it with another string chance. So basically this equals to you have string you have plus chance, right? Because the chance here, because 1 is the value of the variable chance, so instead of writing the value of that variable, you can use the variable's name to make a reference point to it, and then you can write the chance string. Interesting though that you can see 2 chances here very close to each other, but the computer will behave differently when it reads to this point, because the variable's name chance come without the quotes, right? So when the computer reads to this point, it will understand, this is the name of a variable, so it will go ahead and substitute the name with the value. Then when the computer reads chance, the other chance with the red quotes outside that, it will recognize this chance as a string, and it will just print it right away without changing anything. So now you have the tool. Let's go again, pause the video, try it out, and I'll check with you later. Okay, now let's check. I hope you have done all of these things correctly, like set up the guessword here, chance in between, in the just like in the example. But there is one very tricky place here. So what is this line means? This is the place where we get the computer to create a scanner, and then we scan the next line, right? So what is the result of this line? After we scan the next line, what we get out is basically the value for the guess letter, right? So now we have the value. What we have to do with it is to set the value for the variable, right? Just like above here, you try to say guess letter equal to the value of the variable. One thing though, that you will not need to write down the type again, because you have write the type here, so the program knows that this guess letter is a string, so you don't have to remind it anymore. So now you have set the value for the variable, right? So the last thing is the mystery word here is basically very easy to do. Okay, let's continue. Okay, great. We have finished our video, and in the next video I'll introduce to you two very interesting features. The first one is to check player's guess. Basically means now we can scan the player's guess and then we can tell them whether that guess is right or wrong, instead of just printing the result right away. The other feature is we can have more chances. We will have more chances inside our program instead of just one chance. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.